Jets. And there is Molly Karam, the smooth signal caller who will ask questions and demand answers. And here is Max Kellerman. His fire and desire will be the key to victory. And Stephen A. Smith, the veteran of spectacular vernacular, will crank up the volume today. The First Take team is ready to fly high at Jets camp, and it starts now.
We are not in Bristol. Day one of our training camp tour kicks off today from Florham Park, New Jersey. We are so excited to be here at Jets camp. What's up, everybody?
What's going on? What's going on?
Welcome into First Take. Stephen A., Max Kellerman, Molly Karam, how are we doing?
Yes,
we do this.
We got to come up with something.
We got it. We got to get it together.
Really, y'all are really slipping when I got to remind y'all supposed to do the fist bump. I mean, damn, it's supposed to come natural.
Round one, Stephen A. Smith.
Right? Round one of training camp tour. You guys ready?
Of course we ready.
All right, huge show today. Head coach Todd Bowles will be with us. Wide receiver Brandon Marshall, you know, he's always fun. And Revis Island, Darrell Revis also will be here. Ryan Clark will join us in a little bit, too. So since we're here, Jets camp, right? Yep. Do a little AFC East preview to start off the show, shall we? All right, let's get into it. So we all know the Patriots have dominated this division in recent history, winning it 12 out of the last 13 seasons, including a streak of 7 straight. Despite Tom Brady being suspended for the first 4 games, the Pats are still significant favorites, as always, gentlemen, to win the division. But, Stephen A., the question to you is, which team has the best chance to challenge the Pats in the AFC East?
Max Kellerman, I'm going to roll with the New York Jets. And I'm not saying it just because I'm here. I'm not saying it just because I love this team. I'm not saying it just because I'm fond of Coach Todd Bowles and McCagnon, the GM. And the fact that they went 10-6 last year, obviously, has me. It's given me reason to be optimistic. Now, they've lost 2 games to the Buffalo Bills. So I do understand there are some people that might think it's Buffalo. I do understand that there are some people, obviously, that think that because Tom Brady is going to be gone for the first 4 games of the season, and some dude named Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G.
Not Jimmy G.
Jimmy
Garoppolo.
It.
He has not earned a nickname yet. He's thrown as many passes in the NFL during the regular season as I have, okay? No Jimmy G. Jimmy Garoppolo, okay, until further notice. But I'm going to tell you why I'm going to roll with the Jets. I'm going to tell you why I've got this attitude, this positive attitude about the New York Jets. I think signing Ryan Fitzpatrick was pivotal. He is 33. He had an exceptional season last year, even though he wet the bed in the last game of the regular season. They lost to Buffalo twice by the same score, 22-17 each time. The last game of the year, he wet the bed with 3 interceptions, only 187 yards passing. We get all of that. But when I think about the fact that you kept Ryan Fitzpatrick in play, that you have a year of continuity under the belt with his system, with Todd Bowles, Chan Gilly, and those boys, I think along the lines of Brandon Marshall being here and Eric Decker being here. I like the fact that Matt Forte is here now, along with Bilal Powell. Their ability to catch passes out of the backfield. Because if you remember, Bilal Powell was used a lot during screens and what have you later in the season. He was really utilized in that regard. You take that into account, and then you look at defensively. You kept your defensive line intact. You still got Leonard Williams. You kept Muhammad Wilkinson. Sheldon Richardson is going to be around, okay? We hope and pray that it remains that way. I do have concerns in the secondary in terms of Antonio Cromartie being gone and moving Buster Screen from the slot to the outside. I get all of that. But in the end, I just think that Todd Bowles is a damn good defensive mind. I think that Rex Ryan usually bloviates more than he produces. And as a result, I just feel inclined to give the New York Jets the edge over the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, I'm not assuming that they're going to win the AFC East because even with Tom Brady gone, I still believe that the Patriots are going to win the AFC East because I think Jimmy Garoppolo will find a way to win at least 2 games with Bill Belichick by his side. They'll probably go 2-2. Then Tom Brady will come back. They'll go 10-2. They'll finish the season 12-4. They'll win the AFC East, but the Jets will have another 10-6 season, and it will be enough to usurp Buffalo and threaten the New England Patriots. I think that's what's going to happen.
First of all, I know why people would, we're asking the question, who would have the best chance if not the Patriots? But the Patriots aren't going to have Tom Brady for the first 4 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Matt Castle went 11-5. However, they didn't make the playoffs that year. That's the one year they didn't make the playoffs.
And it was 8 years ago.
It was a long time ago, but that's the last time Tom Brady wasn't the quarterback.
Right.
Garoppolo, I'm going to assume, is not on the roster because Bill Belichick says, we just need a backup quarterback. He is on the roster because Bill Belichick thinks he can get the job done if necessary, and now it's necessary. I could see them going 3-1 in the first 4 games. That said, there is a chance here. There's a little chance. And the AFC East, the 3 other teams, there are reasons to recommend them all. By the way, McClendon in the middle now at nose tackle for the Jets, Stephen A., could make a difference. I mean, there are various reasons. That's a top 10 kind of defense. Brandon Marshall is an elite wide receiver, not just a really good wide receiver because the bloom is off the rose. He tends not to get put in the group of elite wide receivers. At least he's not the first name that comes to mind. But he is absolutely an elite wide receiver. Here's the thing about Fitzpatrick, and this is what held me back from picking the Jets until this thought occurred to me. Fitzpatrick's only had 2 decent seasons in his career, 2 good seasons, one in Buffalo and last year with the Jets. And what did those seasons have in common? Contract years. That was his walk year in both instances. And when you think about it that way, the Jets' negotiation with him starts to make a lot more sense. Because what is he entering right now on a 1-year, $12 million deal? A walk year. So we should have a totally motivated quarterback playing under center who's coming off maybe his best season, certainly one of his 2 best seasons. All that said, Stephen A., when they needed him to do it the most, when it was win and you're in against Buffalo, he choked, which leads me to look at the Dolphins. Once they got Ndamukong Suh in the middle. Now, they were coming off an 8-8 year where their point differential was about even, meaning they legitimately were fundamentally an 8-8 type team. Got a little unlucky last year. Tannehill didn't take a step forward, all those kind of things. Assuming he takes a step forward now, sometimes it takes that little couple years to adjust. Based on health, with Ndamukong Suh in the middle, Cameron Wake could legitimately challenge 20 sacks this season. They could have a vicious situation going on up front. So if push comes to shove, I have to pick someone, I'll go with Miami.
You're going to go with the Miami Dolphins?
Sure.
You're going to go with Ryan Tannehill?
Yep.
Am I correct? I just want to make sure I'm correct here.
We'll say the name of the other quarterbacks.
Ryan Fitzpatrick threw for over 4,000 yards last year, completed about 61% of his passes, still hasn't made the playoffs. These same Miami Dolphins that have a new coach, even though Gates did the strongest argument in favor of the Miami Dolphins, as far as I'm concerned, is that Case actually made Jay Cutler look like a quarterback again. I'll give him credit for that, okay? So maybe, just maybe, a miracle could happen.
All
right.
Cutler had a lot more baggage than Tannehill, too.
Yeah, that's true. I actually like Tannehill. I think Tannehill is composed. I think he's a far better person than Cutler in terms of a football player. I don't mean that. I'm not talking about Jay Cutler the person, because I don't know him at all. But I've said it before, and I'll say it religiously. The only time I've ever seen Jay Cutler smile is when he was signing his contract, stealing money from the Chicago Bears organization and hoodwinking the city of Chicago. That's the only time I've ever seen him smile. Outside of that, he looks like a depressed puppy that just disintegrates and depresses everybody around him. And as far as I'm concerned, Gates deserves all the credit in the world for what he did with Cutler. But last time I checked, Chicago didn't go anywhere last year either, even though they improved. So I'm going to assume that Ryan Tannehill can improve in Miami. I think losing Lamar Miller is going to hurt. I think their wideout situation is questionable. Even though their defense could potentially be very, very good, you got a bunch of temperamental dudes on there, and that's a problem. And then we're talking about the AFC East. I'm thinking about Buffalo and some of the personnel that they have. I'm thinking about the fact that Rex Ryan, even when the Jets stunk, yes, they stunk. They were right here, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to tell you right now, they stunk for 4 years. Thank God Todd Bowles arrived here. But Rex Ryan did take them to 2 consecutive AFC championship games the first 2 years. From there, sort of nosedived. What happened? The defense was stout, but he had no offense. What makes it interesting in Buffalo?
You got a kid who can play quarterback.
He's on a clock.
Yep.
Rex Ryan's on the clock now because Tyrod Taylor can flat out ball.
He can play quarterback.
And because he can ball, and because you got LaShawn McCoy and Carlos Williams as your running back, because you got Sammy Watkins as your wideout, you've got pieces in place that he never had with the New York Jets. But that still ain't better than the New York Jets and what they have here this year.
The sexier picks are Buffalo, who in the beginning of last season looked like they could be a real threat,
right?
And certainly the Jets. It's interesting about reputations because you bring up Jay Cutler, the only time he smiles is with the contract. I'll go back to Fitzpatrick again, who is a good quarterback. I mean, he was a good quarterback last year. And here we are at Jets camp, like, you know, you wish him the best. But the fact is, in his career, as I mentioned before, the 2 times he really showed up and played, his 2 best seasons, clearly, were both contract years. And it's interesting that when a guy goes to Harvard, right, like, you know, the branding of him as a quarterback is he must, and he aces the Wonderlic, of course, as you would assume. His brand becomes he's a cerebral, smart quarterback. And also I think there's a tendency to think he must be a gamer. After all, how many Harvard quarterbacks are playing in the NFL? When the fact is, he's been mistake-prone and a contract year player. So his brand isn't that, boy, he only shows up when there's the money on the line. But that's, in fact, what happens. Now, that's actually good news for Jets fans because, once again, the money's on the line for him. He should be totally motivated to play. You know, but in terms of comparing quarterbacks and talking about which guys are motivated by the money, I think that's Fitzpatrick, at least on the record, as much as anyone.
Yeah, but my point to you is this. You're making my argument for me because you said that entering a contract year is when he's had his best seasons. He's got a 1-year, $12 million deal here with the New York Jets. He's 33 years of age. If he wants to extend his future, particularly in a place where he's home playing Rubik's Cubes while he's getting text messages from his teammates telling them to get this deal done, et cetera, et cetera. This is not just about a contract. This is where Ryan Fitzpatrick wants to be. This is not just about dollars and cents. This is also about happiness in his respect. Because what he's saying to you is that if he shows up, and what the Jets are saying is if he shows up and produces, this is a guy that we don't mind keeping around for the foreseeable future. And when has Ryan Fitzpatrick had that luxury anywhere?
With the pressure on.
All right.
And I know Rex Ryan wanted to play spoiler, obviously, which he did. But with the pressure on, this guy threw 12 interceptions all season. And when it was win and you're in, he threw 3.
Well, one of them don't really count. I mean, it was a last desperation. It was a last desperation situation. He really threw a legitimate 2 interceptions,
which is still more than generally he was throwing. I mean, but when you needed him to be his best, he was at his, maybe not his worst, but certainly not at his best.
But Max Kellerman, if you're going to make an argument against Ryan Fitzpatrick, could you give me somebody better than Ryan Tannehill? Pretty please with sugar on top?
I don't know. When you talk about their potential going into this season, if you just isolate quarterback value, you sure you like Fitzpatrick over Tannehill?
I'm sure I like Fitzpatrick over Tannehill because I like the personnel that Ryan Fitzpatrick is throwing to better than I like the personnel that Ryan Tannehill is throwing to.
I do too, and I also like the additions the Jets have made, and I don't think there's actually much to choose from between Miami, who was 6-10 last year. I think most NFL teams in this AFC East level, other than the Patriots, are fundamentally 8-8 teams. The lucky ones go 10-6, unlucky go 6-10. I think Miami was a little unlucky last year in terms of injuries to key players, etc. In terms of Tannehill not taking the step forward people thought. I think Buffalo, New York, and Miami are all very evenly matched. Miami captures my imagination based on potential a little bit more than New York or Buffalo.
Vegas sees it playing out the way Stephen A. does, with, of course, New England winning, following the Jets, then Buffalo, then Miami. But the question is, outside of New England, it usually takes about 10 wins, right, to get to the playoffs. Are any of these teams playoff teams?
I think that the Jets have the potential to be a playoff team because of the 10 wins. I don't know if they'll make it because I expect the AFC North to be a beast. Unless they're beating up on each other, I can see a scenario where potentially, you know, the Steelers, the Bengals, and possibly the Baltimore Ravens are all in or vying for a spot. Obviously, you're looking at New England. You're looking at, you know what, the AFC West is interesting because of Kansas City and Denver. I'm dismissing Oakland and San Diego for now, but it remains to be seen what Oakland will do. But I see San Diego being the last place team in that division. And, of course, I expect Indianapolis to resurrect itself. The playoff team will be the division winner. I don't see a wild card coming out of the AFC South.
No, particularly because they seem to be evenly matched. So there's going to be some attrition in terms of the record throughout the season. I don't see a wild card coming from
I think that battle comes down to this. I think there will be the Patriots and what are the teams in the AFC West, and I think there will be a battle for the wild card between the Jets and two of the teams in the AFC North.
Yeah, and the Jets are likely to lose that battle. But
Probably.
Yep. All right, let's leave it there. First take just getting started here from Florham Park. Speaking of a guy who should be a lock to get back to the playoffs, of course, Cam Newton. So coming up, Michael Bennett called out Cam, then had to call him again. We'll explain and react. Ryan Clark will join us. More First Take from Jets Camp after the break. Stay here. First Take back here at Jets Camp, and our next guest, all he did was lead the NFL in TD receptions and rack up more than 1,500 yards. All-pro receiver Brandon Marshall, friend of the show.
How you guys doing?
How are we doing? Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Congrats.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
What's up, big guy?
What's up, man? How you doing, man?
Hey, listen, I think you're a low-key Jets fan.
Oh.
Really? Listen,
Yeah.
don't you ever say those things. I mean, I got love for the Jets. I'll admit it. I
Who's your
got
team?
love for the. I'm a lifelong Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Really?
Yes, I am.
Not even
Yes, I am.
claiming
But
the
I got-
Giants
but,
here.
But I got love. I got love for the Jets and the Giants
You know
because I'm a
I'm from
native New
Pittsburgh.
Yorker.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm a high-key Giants fan.
That's
so
right.
A pox on your house.
There you
Stop
go.
it. Get them
Settle
out of
down.
here.
All right, Brandon, I know you've been asked about this, but I need you to explain it here on First Take. So you had a little bet going on with Antonio
little bet, a
Brown.
big bet.
Right? What prompted you to do this? Just break it down for everybody, what it was and why you decided to challenge him.
Well, I mean, there's games within a game. Like, we're so blessed to be out here. Look at this amazing day. And, you know, Antonio has really taken the position in the wide receiver game to a whole nother level with Julio Jones and Odell Beckham Jr. And it's just like the music industry, man. There's always going to be someone coming after you. So we're not going to just let him sit on the hill and think that, you know, he's going to be the best year in and year out. So it's just competition. It's all fun.
But what was it? It was for a car?
Well, yeah. Well, you know, in the NFL, we have this rule called no gambling.
Okay.
So, you know, we have to work through these details, but it's all for fun. That was just the thing to get it started.
Brandon Marshall. you know how I feel about you, bro. But at the same time, you do know my one criticism about you. You have no credibility when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, this guy, any quarterback that's playing with him, he
Quarterback's
loves
best
them.
friend.
They're godlike figures. Okay, that's who he is.
count
Okay,
himself.
so I understand. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
You like Ryan?
I like Ryan. I like
right.
Ryan. But not as much as I like Big Ben Roethlisberger.
I can understand.
So
I get
why
that.
are you making that bet knowing the condition, the handicap that you have? Because even though Ryan Fitzpatrick is good,
Yep.
you're not going to say he's Big Ben, are you?
Well, you got to understand at the wide receiver position, you guys just look at the individual. For a wide receiver to be successful, you do need a quarterback. And I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. I love him.
I knew
You're
you were
right.
gonna say that. I knew you
But then
were
I
gonna
have
say
Eric
that.
You're not
Decker on the
rooting
other
together,
side.
though.
I have Eric Decker on the other side. We have a stout offensive line, and we have Matt Forte.
Did you just say? I'm sorry.
We have Matt Forte.
Hold on.
And what does that mean?
Hold on. Did you-
More single coverage.
Wait a minute.
More
You just said a
single
stout
coverage.
offensive line. Did you just say
Stout.
the Brickishaw's gone? Ryan Clady, we got to hope he's healthy. Mangold is about 32 years of age. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, you know, I don't know how much time he might have to pass the ball.
Listen to this.
Brandon.
It's about stats. You guys love stats on this show. We were fourth in rushing last year. We are number one in giving up sacks. I love my offensive line. Come on, man. Do your homework.
I was last. I
Do
did
your
my homework.
Look at Matt
was
Forte
last
right
year.
there.
I didn't say that.
Look at Matt
Right
Forte.
now.
Brandon, you can spin
Running
it.
the ball,
You
catching
can-
the ball in the backfield.
You can spin it however you want. Forte's still a useful back, and Eric Decker is fine on the other side. And
Fine?
and- yeah, he's fine.
That's it?
That's it. That's
He
it.
aight. He's aight.
And Fitzpatrick is okay. He had 2 good seasons
Oh,
in the
my
NFL.
gosh.
You are the only elite player at a skills position on offense on your team. Is that or is that not true?
That's false. That's false. Eric Decker isn't elite.
What?
Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't elite.
No.
Throwing for almost 5,000 yards.
No, he is not
31
elite.
touchdowns.
Right.
That's not elite.
Actually,
Put
he
this
threw
man
for
on a lie
3,900
detector
yards.
test.
You got to
You
get
guys
to
are going-
4,000 before you get to 5,000.
Nick
okay?
Mangold isn't elite.
I said
Yes,
skills
he is.
position.
He
Skills
is.
position.
You just said-
no,
you
and
just
Eric
said that.
Decker is not elite. No, and neither is Fitzpatrick. No,
Oh
they are
my
not elite.
gosh.
No, no one has
Oh my
ever
gosh.
said elite
They're
for those
good.
guys
We'll
ever.
take that.
They're
We'll
good.
take that.
They're good.
We'll take
Brandon.
that. I'll take that.
Speaking of elite, Irv, the playmaker,
Yep.
he called you out and he said that you are a Hall of Famer, no question. What was your reaction hearing Michael Irvin,
Yeah.
the great wide receiver, telling you that you're a Hall of Famer?
Well, I didn't hear it. Actually, I think it was on our website,
Yeah.
our team's website. Man, that's just humbling, especially coming from him. He's a guy that I always looked up to, a guy that I lean on right now. But, you know, I try to stay away from all of that talk right now because, you know, I have a lot of work to do. And I'm not there yet. I'm not even close. Not even close. Can't be mentioned with the greats yet.
Yes, you can, and yes, you are.
No, I wish.
Wait, hold on. Let's listen. Just between you and me, all right? No one's watching for a second. You have to be frustrated on some level in the sense that when you were younger and the bloom was still on the rose and there was all this potential, you were constantly in conversations with the best young receivers in the game. That's a sexy place to be, like right now with Odell Beckham and Julio Jones, and you mentioned Antonio Brown and these guys. Frequently, I hear your name. Even when I'm talking about them, I skip over you, and you are absolutely in that category. And you've done it with quarterbacks in recent years especially who are simply not, as Stephen A. correctly points out, a future Hall of Famer like Ben Roethlisberger. And there is a log jam at the receiver position in voting in terms of a wait list for the Hall of Fame. And you are in the middle of what looks like a Hall of Fame career. It's got to be frustrating on some level for you, Brandon Marshall.
No, well, I would say this. The only thing that's frustrating is that I'm going in year 11, and I haven't been to the playoffs. And every single day I walk out on this field, I have one thing in mind, to win the championship. And that takes a lot. It takes a lot from the individual. It takes a lot from the players in the locker room. It takes a lot from the guys upstairs. So I am really pissed off about that. And we were so close last year, but close isn't good enough. But I really feel comfortable with everyone we have here, especially with an elite quarterback and Ryan Fitzpatrick leading the way. You guys had Coach Bowles here. Players between Lovie Smith and Bill
18, 20 elite quarterbacks.
Combo of Lovie Smith and Bill Parcells. He snuck that right in there.
I got respect for Ryan Fitzpatrick. But did it ever occur to you, Brandon Marshall, that it may very well be your fault why you end up playing for good quarterbacks as opposed to the great ones because you're constantly calling them great? And maybe, just maybe, dare I say, Brandon Marshall is not holding quarterbacks accountable enough because you too busy showing them love.
Time out.
You too busy showing them love.
I haven't held any quarterbacks.
No, you gonna get me? You gonna get me started? You gonna tell me you held Jay Cutler? You gonna tell me you held Jay Cutler accountable? Why you did it when you showed up with the New York Jets? When you were in Chicago, you did everything but give him flowers.
I'm a ride with my guys, man. And when it was Jay Cutler, you know, I'm gonna have his back to the end. Ryan Fitzpatrick, same thing. You're right. You know, I'm a team guy, and I really believe in my quarterback.
In all seriousness, what role did you play, if any at all, in getting Ryan Fitzpatrick to that one-year deal, to get back here, to get in here in training camp? Because I know it had to drive you crazy, the thought of having this season without him.
It was just simple. It just internally, I just, you know, spoke from the heart and told, you know, the people that, you know, was at the table how I felt about Ryan and how the team felt about Ryan. That was it. And I just got out the way and did my job and to be a wide receiver and let them do their job and get the deal done.
Holding account, not just holding accountable, but building up expectations. Partly because of like the kind of PR job you did with the media through those years.
Unbelievable, man.
I mean, last year I heard people picking Jay Cutler to win the MVP.
You mean 2 years ago?
2 years ago. By the way, in the NFL MVP, not another football league, the NFL MVP. What has people lost their minds? Damn, Brandon Marshall, you should be a publicist when you're done with your NFL career.
I'll go out on a limb and say this again.
Don't do it.
I truly believe Alshon Jeffrey stays healthy. All right, and then you have Kevin White. If this rookie can come in and catch 55-plus balls, Jay Cutler can be an MVP this year. I truly believe that.
Can I leave?
I believe that.
Can I leave?
There is nothing.
I want to leave. First take right now and take the rest of this. I can't believe you just said that with a straight face.
There is nothing in his past that suggests that could happen.
Jay Cutler, the MVP, really?
Listen, let me tell you why.
Really?
He has all the tangibles.
He's had it for 11 years. Where's that gotten him?
And now,
where's that gotten him?
Even the work ethic?
Listen, sometimes it just takes a little longer. Yes, even the work ethic. This guy has been taking guys all off season to the side, bringing them to his house, bringing them to Nashville.
Oh, we brought him to the house.
And now
that I knew he brought him.
Did he pay for that flight?
I don't think he paid for the flight. I don't think he paid for the flight.
Brandon, I thought that like Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers or Andrew Luck or someone like that was going to win MVP.
No.
But now that I knew that he took people to his house, now it's Jay Cutler.
I'm telling you, go to Vegas right now, but you can't gamble if you're an NFL player.
If my wires were not attached to my seat, I would have walked off this. Jay Cutler,
You know
the MVP. 11 years this dude has been in the league. Okay, he's made about 2 playoff appearances. He quit in the NFC Championship game. Right, he couldn't work. He couldn't backpedal in the pocket, but he could pedal on the sideline.
What do you have, a Jay Cutler book or something?
I don't need a Jay
Like,
Cutler
how
book.
do you remember all this stuff?
Come on, man. It's easy.
Can we focus on you for 1 second,
oh, my
though?
Lord, I can't believe
Brandon,
you.
is it true you dropped 20 pounds on
Yes.
the Bulls diet to
Yes,
get ready? What
Todd
is the
Bowles
Bulls diet, and why was that important? How is it going to impact you?
Well, actually, it's called the Sarah Mailman diet, and
Okay.
it's a food sensitivity test where they draw your blood, and our bodies have a chemical reaction with everything we put in our body. And there's a doctor down in Florida that I was introduced to in 2010 by Ricky Williams and Ronnie Brown. And what they do is they take your blood and then they built a menu, a diet specifically for your system. So for me, I can have just plain cabbage steamed and I may gain 2 pounds because my body reacted in a negative way, and that's inflammation. Whereas if I just have some greens or green beans and I can eat as much as I want, and I'll stay right at 225 the next day.
I just figured something out. In this
test.
interview, I figured something out about you, by the way. Brandon Marshall actually drinks the Kool-Aid because
He dropped 20 pounds.
No, I'll tell you why. Because you have no reason to pump up Jay Cutler anymore. But because you actually drank the Kool-Aid, you're still pumping him up as though he can win MVP.
Nice.
You're still on that.
Yes.
I know
You're still on that.
He's just being nice.
Well,
He's just
listen,
being nice.
Alshon Jeffrey, when healthy, this guy would have probably led the receivers in receiving yards last year if he stayed healthy.
What you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. He's looking out for Alshon Jeffrey. And about Jay Cutler. He's looking out for his boy Alshon Jeffrey. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
I think Alshon Jeffrey will be fine.
It can't be Jay Cutler.
Alshon Jeffrey, that's my brother. Pay the man.
Okay.
I'm just ready for Alshon just to, when we go out to dinner,
Now
for
you
him to
got
pay
it.
for dinner. That's what I'm looking for.
I'm good.
That's what I'm looking for.
I support you. This is all right. We all right. Because you're looking out for Alshon. He can play.
Okay.
Jay Cutler.
We're done with Cutler now? Can we go to Tom Brady? So
Let's go Tom
in
Brady.
your division, he's going to be out 4 games, of course, getting suspended there for the Deflategate stuff. Did you think that was a fair punishment?
Well, there's 2 things from a player's perspective. One, we're one. You know, the NFLPA, we got to stick together. So obviously, we want to have a fair process. But on the other hand, there's a competitive edge thing there, and as of right now, we don't have time to deal with that. That's their problem. That's something for them to talk about. We have our own issues and own challenges that we have to work through. So I'm gonna let them deal with that in Foxborough.
All right.
Works for me.
Yep.
Good to see you, bro.
Brandon, sorry you had to put up with both of them. You guys
way,
are
just
a
for
team today. He getting in there, too.
Tom Brady, elite quarterback.
Elite quarterback.
That's what elite quarterback looks like.
All right. So
Yes.
right here,
No,
right now,
Tom Brady's an elite.
what does Fitzpatrick have to do to be considered an elite quarterback?
How about passing
Playoffs.
for 5,000 yards?
Okay, that's it.
Making the playoffs.
5,000, make the playoffs.
Make the playoffs.
Playoffs.
Make sure that you're an all-pro.
Okay, done.
And
When
don't
it's
throw
done.
3
When it's
interceptions
winning,
against
it's winning.
Buffalo.
So
And don't throw in 3 interceptions against Buffalo.
Playoffs,
No,
done.
no. Gamma rays.
mental
he has to
health
get hit with
awareness
gamma
day.
rays.
Mental health
We love
awareness
that
day.
you do
there it
this.
is.
Got
We
it.
love that you
Got
do
it,
this.
bro.
Put that on.
Right
Yeah, Brandon,
Got it.
I'm shaking your hand
We got
here.
you. We
Thank
got
you.
you.
Always a pleasure. Always
Thank you,
good to
Brandon.
see you. More First Take from Jets Camp
And no 3
in
interceptions
a moment.
against
Stay with us here. Darrelle Revis will be joining us. A lot more to get into from Florham Park. Beautiful day. We are having so much fun. These two are... Darrell's already here. Hey. All right, we'll be with him in just a minute.
What's going on? How you doing?
My man. What's up, baby?